Elena Vasquez opened her eyes to darkness. Her body felt heavy and cold, like she had been sleeping for a very long time. Tubes and wires surrounded her cryopod as it slowly opened with a soft hiss. The air tasted stale and metallic. "Welcome back, Commander Vasquez," said a calm voice. It was Atlas, the ship's computer system. "You have been in hibernation for 50,000 years. Elena tried to sit up, but her muscles were weak. 50,000 years. The number seemed impossible. She remembered going to sleep when Earth was dying. The planet had become too hot and poisoned to live on. Humanity had built giant ships to find new homes among the stars. "Status report," Elena said, her voice rough from the long sleep. "We have found a suitable star system for colonization," Atlas replied. "However, there have been significant developments during our journey that require your attention." Elena slowly climbed out of the pod. The hibernation bay stretched out before her, filled with thousands of other sleeping pods. Soft blue lights showed that most were still active. Nearly 3 million humans still slept, waiting for a new world to call home. She walked to the nearest window and looked outside. Stars filled the view, but they looked different from the ones she remembered around Earth. After 50,000 years of travel, they were in a completely different part of the galaxy. "Atlas, show me what you found," Elena said. The wall lit, up with data and images. Radio signals filled the space around them. Lots of radio signals, too many for empty space. "There is a thriving galactic civilization," Atlas explained. "Multiple species communicating across hundreds of star systems. They appear to be technologically advanced." Elena stared at the information. When humanity left Earth, they had found no signs of intelligent life anywhere in the galaxy. Now it seemed full of talking, thinking beings. "How is this possible?" she asked. "The signals contain references to something they call the Ancients," Atlas continued. "These Ancients apparently left behind advanced technology throughout the galaxy. The current civilizations have built their societies around these ancient artifacts." Elena felt a strange chill. "Show me more about these Ancients." New images appeared on the screen. Massive space stations orbiting dead stars, cities floating in the clouds of gas giant planets, huge machines that could move entire moons. The alien species called all of this ancient technology and treated it like religious artifacts. But Elena recognized some of the designs. The orbital platforms looked like human construction. The energy patterns matched human fusion technology. Even the mathematical symbols in some of the alien messages looked familiar. "Atlas," Elena said slowly, "scan these images for human design patterns." The computer worked for several minutes. Then the results appeared and Elena's legs went weak. 97% match for human engineering principles. The quantum signatures were definitely human. Even some of the metal alloys were identical to ones used in human space construction. "My God," Elena whispered. "We are the Ancients." Atlas processed this information. "Analysis confirms your hypothesis, Commander. Before the Great Evacuation, humanity had established colonies in over 400 star systems. The timeline matches. When Earth's environment collapsed, contact with all colonies was lost." Elena sat down hard in a nearby chair. Humanity had spread across the galaxy before Earth died. They had built all these incredible things that aliens now worshipped as ancient mysteries. But what happened to all those human colonies? "Are there any humans still alive out there?" Elena asked. "Unknown," Atlas replied. "The alien communications do not mention living ancients. They speak of the ancients as if they vanished long ago." Elena stood and walked to another window. Somewhere out there, human technology was powering alien civilizations. Human-built machines were keeping entire worlds alive. And no one remembered who built them. "How long until we reach the target system?" Elena asked. 18 hours, Atlas answered. "The system contains several inhabited worlds. The dominant species calls themselves Zephyrians. They appear to be aquatic beings living on a water world." Elena nodded. "Begin waking the senior staff. We need to prepare for contact." As Atlas started the awakening process for other important crew members, Elena continued studying the alien messages. The Zephyrians talked about their world in religious terms. They called it the gift of the builders and spoke of ancient miracles that made their planet livable. More pieces clicked together in Elena's mind. Human terraforming equipment, atmosphere processors, ocean thermal regulators. The technology that the Zephyrians thought was magic was actually human engineering from 50,000 years ago. Dr. Sarah Kim was the first senior officer to wake up. As the ship's anthropologist, she would be crucial for first contact with aliens. Elena helped her out of the hibernation pod. "Elena," Sarah said weakly, "did we make it? Did we find a new home?" "We found more than that," Elena said. "We found out what happened to the rest of humanity." Elena explained everything while Sarah recovered from the long sleep. The alien civilizations, the ancient technology, the growing certainty that humans were the mysterious ancients that everyone talked about. Sarah listened with growing amazement. So our species colonized the galaxy, then vanished, and now we're returning to find aliens using our old equipment? "That's what it looks like," Elena said. "The question is, what do we do about it?" More senior staff woke up over the next few hours. Captain Martinez, the military commander, Dr. Chen, the scientist, Engineer Rodriguez, who understood the ship's systems better than anyone. Each one had the same shocked reaction when they learned the truth. "The aliens don't know we're human," Captain Martinez observed. "To them, we're just another species in a big ship." "Should we tell them who we are?" Dr. Kim asked. Elena had been thinking about that question for hours. "I don't know. How do you tell someone that their gods were just people? That their most sacred technology was built by beings just like them?" The ship continued toward the Zephyrian system. Long-range scans showed beautiful blue-green worlds with floating cities and massive orbital platforms, all of it built with human technology that no one understood anymore. "Commander," Atlas interrupted, "we are receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian homeworld." The main screen activated, showing a strange but graceful creature. The Zephyrian had smooth blue skin and large dark eyes. It floated in a tank of water, speaking in a language that Atlas quickly translated. "Unknown vessel," the alien said. "You approach sacred space. These worlds are protected by the ancient covenants. State your purpose." Elena stepped forward. "This is Commander Elena Vasquez of the human ship Perseverance. We are travelers seeking a new home. We come in peace." The Zephyrian's large eyes grew even larger. "Humans?" it said. "The builders spoke of humans in the old records. Are you the returned ones?" Elena felt her heart skip. Returned ones? The ancient prophecies speak of the builders returning when the galaxy faces its greatest danger, the Zephyrian explained. "We have watched for this sign for thousands of generations." Elena looked at her crew. They were as surprised as she was. Not only did the aliens know about humans, they had been waiting for them to come back. "We request permission to approach your world," Elena said carefully. "We have much to discuss." The Zephyrian seemed to shimmer with excitement. "Permission. Granted, children of the builders, welcome home." As the transmission ended, Elena realized that their journey was just beginning. They had found their lost colonies, but they had also found something much bigger. The galaxy had been waiting for humanity to return. The question was, what would they find when they got there? The Perseverance entered the Kepler 442 system slowly. Elena stood on the bridge, watching the blue-green world grow larger on the main screen. 3 small moons orbited the planet, and each one had structures built on them. Human structures, she was now certain. "Incredible," Dr. Kim whispered beside her. "The orbital platforms are still working after 50,000 years." "Human engineering," Engineer Rodriguez said with pride. "We built things to last." The Zephyrian escort ships were small but elegant, shaped like swimming creatures with flowing fins. They guided the massive human vessel toward the 4th planet from the sun. As they got closer, Elena could see floating cities on the ocean surface and massive towers that reached up through the clouds. "Commander," Atlas announced, I am detecting atmospheric processors in the upper atmosphere. They are converting carbon, dioxide, and methane into breathable gases. The technology matches human terraforming equipment from before the evacuation. Elena nodded. 50,000 years ago, humans had found this world and made it suitable for life. Now an alien species lived there, never knowing that their entire civilization depended on human machines. The shuttle bay opened, and Elena led a small team down to the planet's surface. Dr. Kim came as the cultural expert. Captain Martinez provided security. Dr. Chen brought scientific equipment to study whatever they might find. The shuttle broke through the clouds and revealed an amazing sight. The ocean stretched to the horizon, dotted with floating cities made of some kind of coral-like material. But the cities floated on platforms that Elena recognized immediately as human gravity manipulation technology. They landed on a platform near the largest city. The air was warm and humid with a salty ocean smell. Zephyrians waited for them, floating in large tanks of water mounted on hovering platforms. The leader was the same one who had spoken to them in space. It introduced itself as Depth Singer, Corolith, apparently a title of great respect among their people. "Welcome, children of the builders," Corolith said through the translation system. "We have maintained the sacred places as our ancestors instructed." Elena tried to hide her amazement. "Sacred places? Come," Corolith said. "You must see what the builders left for you." They followed the Zephyrian delegation through the floating city. The buildings were beautiful, grown rather than built, but they rested on clearly human-made foundations. Gravity generators kept everything stable on the ocean waves. Atmospheric processors hummed quietly in the distance, but it was the people that interested Dr. Kim most. The Zephyrians were obviously intelligent and cultured. They had art, music, and complex social structures. They had built a peaceful civilization on the foundation that humans had provided. "How long have your people lived here?" Dr. Kim asked. "According to our histories, our ancestors arrived here 37,000 years ago," Corolith replied. "The world was already prepared for us. The builders had made the air breathable and the oceans warm. They left instructions for maintaining the great machines." Elena felt a chill. "Instructions? In your language?" "No, in the builder language. Our priests have maintained the knowledge through generations. Would you like to see?" They were led to a massive building at the center of the city. Inside, Elena saw something that made her heart race. Computer terminals, human computer terminals, still functioning after 50,000 years. And on the screens, text in perfect English. "My God," Dr. Chen whispered. "They've been maintaining our systems all this time without knowing what they were." Corolith gestured proudly to the screens. "The sacred writings of the builders. Our priests study them every day, though much of the meaning has been lost over the generations." Elena stepped closer to the nearest terminal. The text was a maintenance manual for atmospheric processors, written in simple English, designed to be understood by colonists who might not be engineers. But to the Zephyrians, it was holy scripture. "Corolith," Elena said carefully, "what do your people believe about the builders?" The alien's large eyes seemed to shimmer with reverence. "They came from the stars when our world was young and poisoned. They cleaned the air and warmed the seas. They built the floating foundations and the sky machines. Then they departed, promising to return when we had learned to live in harmony with their gifts." Elena exchanged glances with her team. The story was remarkably accurate, except for one thing. "Did they leave any other instructions about what would happen when they returned?" "The prophecies speak of tests," Corolith said. "When the returned ones come back, they will judge whether we have been worthy keepers of their legacy." Captain Martinez stepped forward. "What if we told you that we are those returned ones, that we are the descendants of the builders themselves?" The effect on Corolith was immediate. The alien's body began changing colors, cycling through blues and purples that the translation system explained meant extreme emotion. You are truly them?" Corolith asked. "The builders themselves?" "We are human," Elena said gently. "The same species that built all of this. We left this world 50,000 years ago when our home planet was dying. Now we have returned. Koroleth was silent for a long moment. Then it began what could only be described as singing. A deep, complex melody that seemed to resonate through the water in its tank. Other Zephyrians throughout the building joined in. It is the song of return, Koroleth explained when the music ended. We have sung it for thousands of generations, waiting for this day. Dr. Kim was fascinated. You maintained our technology and remembered our promise, even after 50,000 years? It was our purpose, Koroleth said simply. The builders gave us life. We preserved their legacy. Elena felt a deep sense of responsibility settling on her shoulders. These people had built their entire civilization around maintaining human technology. They had turned human engineering manuals into religious texts. They had waited 50,000 years for humanity to come home. Koroleth, Elena said, we need to understand what happened to the other builder colonies. Were there other worlds, like this one? The aliens' colors shifted to darker blues. The Great Silence came 30,000 years ago. Many worlds went dark. The sacred communications stopped working. We thought the builders had transcended to a higher plane of existence. What do you mean, went dark? Dr. Chen asked. The star bridges stopped carrying messages. The great network that connected all the builder worlds fell silent. We maintained our part of the system, but no voices answered our calls. Elena felt a chill. A galactic communication network had existed 30,000 years ago, connecting human colonies across hundreds of star systems. Then it had failed. The question was why. Do you still have access to this communication system? Elena asked. Parts of it still function, Koroleth said. Our priests have kept the star bridge operational, though we have no one to talk to. Elena looked at her team. If they could access the old human communication network, they might be able to contact other colonies, or at least find out what happened to them. We would be honored if you would show us, Elena said. Koroleth led them deeper into the building, to a room that Elena immediately recognized as a human communication center. The quantum entanglement communicators were still active, though operating at minimal power. Dr. Chen ran his hands over the controls. This is incredible. A quantum communication network spanning the galaxy, still functional after 50,000 years. Can you contact other colonies? Captain Martinez asked. Dr. Chen began working at the controls. The system came alive under his touch, displaying a map of the galaxy with thousands of connection points. Most were dark, but some still showed faint signals. There are colonies still out there, Dr. Chen said with excitement. Weak signals, but definitely active. Elena felt hope and fear in equal measure. Humanity had not vanished completely from the galaxy, but if the signals were weak, that meant the colonies were struggling. The question was, struggling against what? Try to establish contact with the nearest active signal, Elena ordered. Dr. Chen worked at the controls for several minutes. Then, a voice came through the speakers, faint but definitely human. This is Terra Nova Colony calling any listening station. We are under attack by unknown entities. Request immediate assistance. Repeat, we are under attack. The message was old, very old, but it was human, and it was a call for help. Elena looked at Koroleth, then at her team. They had found their lost colonies, but they had also found something else. Humanity's children were in danger, scattered across a galaxy that had forgotten who built its foundations. Set course for Terra Nova Colony, Elena ordered. We're going home, all of us. Word of humanity's return spread across the galaxy faster than Elena had expected. Within days of their meeting with the Zephyrians, the quantum communication network lit up with messages from dozens of species. Some welcomed the return of the builders. Others demanded explanations. A few sent what could only be called threats. Elena stood in the Perseverance's communication center, watching the flood of incoming transmissions. Dr. Kim worked frantically with the translation systems, trying to make sense of all the different alien languages. This one is from the Crystalline Collective, Dr. Kim reported. They're offering to share all the ancient technology they've discovered if we'll teach them how to build new things. What about this cluster of messages? Elena asked, pointing. to a group of angry red signals. Dr. Kim's face grew worried. Those are from something called the Liberation Front. They're saying that the ancients abandoned the galaxy and have no right to return. Their leader, someone called General Korth, is demanding that we leave immediately. Elena rubbed her temples. The situation was getting complicated fast. Any word from this concordat of worlds that Atlas mentioned? Yes, Dr. Kim said, highlighting a formal-looking message. An official invitation from Chancellor Vextai. They want us to come to their capital and, I quote, reclaim our rightful place as the galaxy's senior species. Elena didn't like the sound of that. Where is their capital? Atlas answered, from the ship's speakers. Proxima Station orbiting the star Proxima Centauri. Commander, you should be aware that Proxima Station was originally a human research facility called Deep Space Research Platform 7. Of course it was. Elena was beginning to understand that everywhere they went they would find human fingerprints on the galaxy's most important places. Set course for Proxima Station, Elena ordered. But slowly. I want time to study these other messages first. Over the next few days, Elena learned more about the galaxy humanity had left behind. The Concordat of Worlds was a loose alliance of over 300 species, all bound together by their dependence on ancient technology. They had built their entire civilization on human foundations, but none of them understood how any of it worked. The Liberation Front was more troubling. Led by a militant species called the Hegemony, they believed that the galaxy belonged to those who lived in it now, not to long-lost creators. General Korth had been building a military alliance to resist any attempt by returning ancients to reclaim their old territory. But the most interesting messages came from individual colonies and species. Elena read story after story of human artifacts that had shaped alien civilizations. A gravity well generator that had saved a dying world. A medical database that had cured a species-wide plague. Fusion reactors that had powered entire star systems for thousands of years. We didn't just colonize the galaxy, Elena told her senior staff during a briefing. We seeded it with the tools of civilization itself. Dr. Chen had been studying the technical data from various species. It's more than that, he said. Look at this genetic analysis from the symbiotic ring civilization. They show clear signs of human genetic engineering. Someone was modifying alien DNA to make them more compatible with human technology. Elena felt a chill. Are you saying we were experimenting on other species? Not experimenting, Dr. Chen said carefully. More like helping them evolve. The modifications are all beneficial. Improved cognitive abilities, better technology interfaces, enhanced lifespans. Captain Martinez leaned forward. So we weren't just building technology, we were upgrading the aliens themselves. Elena stared at the data. The implications were staggering. Humanity hadn't just left behind machines and buildings. They had actively shaped the evolution of alien species across the galaxy. Dr. Kim, Elena said, what do the alien cultures say about this? Do they have any memory of direct contact with humans? Dr. Kim pulled up several cultural analysis reports. It's strange. Most species have myths about the ancients appearing to their ancestors and offering gifts of knowledge, but they always described the ancients as mysterious figures who never showed their true forms. Maybe the colonists were trying to avoid creating dependency, Elena suggested. They helped from the shadows, then withdrew to let the aliens develop naturally. Or maybe something forced them to withdraw, Captain Martinez said grimly. That thought had been bothering Elena too. Why had humanity vanished so completely? What had happened 30,000 years ago to make an entire galactic civilization go silent? The answer came when they finally reached Proxima Station. The space station was enormous, easily 10 times the size of anything humanity had built when they left Earth. But as they got closer, Elena could see the underlying structure. Human design principles expanded and modified over 50,000 years. My God, Engineer Rodriguez whispered. They built an entire city around our old research station. The station was home to millions of beings from hundreds of different species. Ships came and went constantly, creating a traffic pattern that reminded Elena of the old orbital cities around Earth. Chancellor Vextai met them personally at the docking bay. The Archaton was a crystalline being, beautiful and strange, with faceted skin that reflected light in rainbow patterns. "Welcome home, children of the builders," Vextai said in perfect English. "We have been waiting for your return for 30 millennia." Elena was surprised. "You speak our language." "English is the official language of the Concordat," Vextai explained as they walked through the station. "All species learn it as children. It is the language of the sacred texts." Elena looked around her. The corridors were clearly human design, but expanded and decorated by alien architects. Art from 100 different cultures lined the walls. Signs in dozens of languages all included English translations. "This is remarkable," Dr. Kim said. "You've maintained our language across 50,000 years. "More than maintained it," Vextai said proudly. "We have improved it, added technical terms for technologies the original builders never imagined." They entered what had once been the research station's main laboratory. Now it was a vast chamber filled with displays of ancient technology. Elena recognized some items immediately: power cores, gravity generators, medical scanners. But others were completely new to her. "We call this the Hall of Sacred Mysteries," Vextai explained. "Here we display the greatest achievements of builder science." Elena stopped in front of one display. It showed a device she had never seen before, a crystalline sphere surrounded by rotating metal rings. The data plate described it as a quantum consciousness interface and claimed it could allow direct mental contact across galactic distances. "Where did this come from?" Elena asked. Vextai's crystal face showed what might have been confusion. "From the sacred archives, like all ancient technology. Surely you remember creating it?" Elena exchanged glances with her team. "We need to see these sacred archives." Vextai led them deeper into the station, to a heavily guarded section that Elena realized had once been the research platform's data storage facility. Inside, walls of quantum storage devices hummed quietly, containing more information than Elena could imagine. "This contains all the knowledge of the ancients," Vextai said reverently. "Technical specifications, historical records, even personal messages between the builders." Dr. Chen immediately went to the nearest access terminal. "May I?" With Vextai's permission, he began pulling up files. Elena watched over his shoulder as the data flowed past. Technical manuals for devices she had never heard of, research notes from human scientists she didn't recognize, and then something that made her blood run cold, a message dated 31,000 years ago. The timestamp showed it was one of the last files in the system. "Emergency alert to all colonies," Dr. Chen read aloud. "The Devourers have broken through the dimensional barriers. Colony after colony has gone silent. We believe they are attracted to quantum consciousness signatures. All humans must cease use of advanced psionic technology immediately. Recommend full evacuation to parallel dimensions or beyond Galactic Rim. This may be our final transmission." Elena felt the room go cold. "Devourers?" Dr. Chen pulled up more files. Reports of attacks by entities that existed partially outside normal space. Entire star systems simply vanishing from reality. Colonies sending desperate messages before falling. Silent forever. "The humans who stayed behind," Elena said slowly. "They weren't just maintaining colonies, they were fighting a war." Vextai's crystalline body dimmed. "You do not remember the Great Silence? When the builder world stopped answering our calls?" Elena looked at the data with growing horror. 30,000 years ago, humanity had faced something that could literally erase them from existence. The survivors had either fled to other dimensions or hidden beyond the galactic edge. "The colonies that sent weak signals," Captain Martinez said. "They're not thriving. They're hiding." Elena nodded grimly. "And now we've announced our return to the entire galaxy." As if summoned by her words, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights bathed everything in red as Vextai rushed to a communication terminal. "Chancellor," a voice reported, "we're detecting massive spatial distortions on the Galactic Rim. Something is coming through dimensional space." Elena felt her stomach drop. "The Devourers?" Vextai's crystal form flickered with fear. Reality began breaking down around Proxima Station 3 hours after the first alarms. Elena watched from the command center as space itself seemed to tear open like fabric. Through the holes, she glimpsed something that made her mind hurt to look at directly. "What are we seeing?" Captain Martinez asked, his voice tight with fear. Dr. Chen studied the sensor readings with shaking hands. "It's like space-time is being unraveled. The Devourers don't just destroy matter and energy. They consume the very structure that holds reality together." Elena turned to Chancellor Vextai, who stood frozen at the communication panel. The Architon's crystal body was flickering between colors, showing panic that needed no translation. "How did your people survive the last time this happened?" Elena asked. Vextai's light dimmed almost to nothing. "We hid. When the Great Silence came, all species retreated to their home systems and powered down their most advanced technologies. The Devourers seemed to lose interest after the Builder signals stopped." Elena felt sick. So 30,000 years ago, humanity drew these things to the galaxy, then disappeared and left everyone else to deal with the aftermath. "The Builders saved us first," Vextai said quietly. "Before they vanished, they modified our technology, made it harder for the Devourers to detect. Many species survived because of Builder gifts." On the main screen, another section of space collapsed into nothingness. Elena could see ships from the outer colonies trying to flee, but some simply vanished as the wave of destruction reached them. "Commander," Atlas's voice came through the communication system. "I am receiving a priority transmission from the Perseverance. Dr. James Chen requests immediate transport back to the ship." Elena was confused. "Dr. Chen is right here." "Negative, Commander. Dr. James Chen, the xenobiologist, is currently in Laboratory 7 aboard the Perseverance." Elena's blood went cold. She looked at the Dr. Chen beside her, then back at Atlas. "How many Dr. Chens are there?" "2, Commander. Dr. Michael Chen, the physicist, is currently with you on Proxima Station. Dr. James Chen, the xenobiologist, remained aboard the ship to continue his research during the journey." Elena had forgotten. In the excitement of discovering they were the ancients, she had focused on the senior staff she knew best. But there were other scientists aboard the Perseverance, specialists who had stayed in hibernation to work on long-term projects during the voyage. "Get me a channel to Dr. James Chen immediately," Elena ordered. The communication screen flickered, then showed a man Elena barely recognized. He was thin and pale, with wild gray hair and intense eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Commander." "Vasquez," Dr. James Chen said, his voice urgent. "We need to talk immediately. I've been monitoring the situation from the ship and I have information about the Devourers that you need to know." "You stayed awake during the journey?" Elena asked, amazed. "Someone had to study the enemy," James said grimly. 50,000 years gave me a lot of time to analyze the data from the last attack. I know what the Devourers are and I know how to stop them." Within an hour, Elena was back aboard the Perseverance with her senior staff. Dr. James Chen met them in Laboratory 7, which had been converted into something that looked like a combination research facility and war room. The walls were covered with charts and diagrams that hurt Elena's eyes to look at, mathematical equations that seemed to bend and twist on the page, models of creatures that appeared to exist in more dimensions than human minds could properly process. "The Devourers aren't aliens," James began without preamble. "They're parasites that exist in the spaces between dimensions. They feed on organized reality, complex patterns of matter and energy that form conscious thought." Dr. Michael Chen studied one of the diagrams. "You're saying they eat consciousness itself?" "More than that," James replied. "They consume the quantum structures that make consciousness possible. When they attack a species, they don't just kill the individuals. They erase the possibility that those individuals could ever have existed." Elena felt her head spinning. "How is that possible?" James moved to a three-dimensional holographic display that showed the structure of space-time. "Reality has layers. What we think of as the physical universe is just the surface. Underneath are quantum probability matrices that determine what can and cannot exist. The Devourers attack those foundations. Captain Martinez stepped forward. How do we fight something like that? That's the problem, James said darkly. Traditional weapons are useless. You can't shoot at something that exists partially outside of space-time. The only effective defense is to become something they can't digest. What do you mean? Elena asked. James moved to another display, this one showing brain scans and genetic analyses. Human consciousness has a unique property. We exist simultaneously, across multiple probability states. That's why we could build technology that other species consider impossible. We don't just think outside the box. We think outside reality itself. Elena stared at the data. Are you saying humans are naturally multidimensional? In a limited way, yes, James confirmed. That's why the Devourers are attracted to us. We're like a rich meal to them. But it's also why we might be able to fight them. The ship shuddered suddenly, and Elena realized they were under attack. The main screen showed the space around them filled with impossible geometries as reality bent and twisted. They found us, James said grimly. The Devourers are drawn to active human consciousness signatures. The more humans wake up from hibernation, the stronger the attraction becomes. Elena felt trapped. So we can't wake up our people, but we need them to fight back? There might be another way, James said. During the journey, I developed something I call the Ascension Protocol. It would allow humans to exist fully in multiple dimensions simultaneously. We would become beings of pure consciousness, immune to the Devourers' attacks. What's the catch? Elena asked, knowing there had to be one. James looked at her with haunted eyes. We would no longer be physically human. The process is irreversible. We would become something new, something that has never existed before in this universe. The ship shuddered again, more violently this time. Through the windows, Elena could see space itself beginning to fray at the edges. Commander, came an urgent transmission from Proxima Station. This is General Korth of the Liberation Front. Our philosophical differences are irrelevant now. We're transmitting our full military specifications. We need to combine our forces immediately. Elena was surprised. The militant leader who had been threatening humanity was now asking for help. General, this is Commander Vasquez. What changed your mind? Korth's image appeared on the screen, a massive, armored being with multiple arms and glowing red eyes. The Devourers don't care about politics, Commander. They're consuming everything, regardless of species. 3 of my worlds have already been erased from existence. Elena looked at James. How long do we have? Hours, maybe less, James replied. The attack is accelerating. They're using the quantum communication network to spread across the galaxy faster than light. Elena made a decision. Dr. Chen, begin preparations for the Ascension Protocol, but don't activate it yet. General Korth, coordinate with Chancellor Vextai to establish a unified defense. We need to buy time to find another solution. Commander, James said quietly, there may not be another solution. The last time this happened, humanity fled rather than fight. This time there's nowhere left to run. Elena looked out at the galaxy that humanity had built and abandoned. Millions of species lived and thrived using human technology. They had become humanity's children without even knowing it. Then we don't run, Elena said firmly. We fight, and we find a way to win that doesn't require us to stop being human. James nodded, but Elena could see doubt in his eyes. Outside, the ship, reality continued to unravel as an ancient enemy closed in on its favorite prey. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin, and Elena still didn't know how they could possibly win. The final battle began when reality started screaming. Elena felt it first as a vibration in her bones, then as a sound that seemed to come from inside her head. Around the Perseverance, space itself was being torn apart by creatures that existed, in dimensions human minds couldn't properly understand. Status report, Elena ordered, trying to keep her voice steady. 17 star systems have been completely erased, Captain Martinez reported. The Devourers are moving faster now. They're following the quantum communication lines between colonies. Elena looked at the tactical display. Red zones marked areas where reality had simply stopped existing. The pattern was spreading like a disease through the galaxy's most heavily populated regions. How many species have we lost? Elena asked. Unknown, Dr. Michael Chen replied grimly. When the devourers consume something, it's like it never existed at all. We can't count what we can't remember. Elena felt sick. Entire civilizations were being wiped out so completely that the universe forgot they had ever lived. Commander, came Chancellor Vextai's voice over the communication system. The Concordat Defense Fleet is falling back to the galactic core. We cannot fight these entities with conventional weapons. General Korth's transmission followed immediately after. Human Commander, my forces are being destroyed. These creatures ignore energy shields and pass through solid matter. How do we kill something that doesn't exist in our reality? Elena looked at Dr. James Chen, who was working frantically at his console. The Ascension protocol equipment hummed ominously in the background. Dr. Chen, how much longer until the protocol is ready? Elena asked. It's ready now, James replied without looking up. But Commander, once we begin the process, there's no going back. Humanity as a physical species will cease to exist. Elena stared at the readings. The protocol would transform every human consciousness into pure quantum energy, allowing them to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They would become powerful enough to fight the devourers, but they would no longer be recognizably human. There has to be another way, Elena said. Commander, Atlas interrupted. I am receiving multiple transmissions from across the galaxy. You should hear this. The main screen filled with faces, hundreds of them, thousands, representing dozens of different species. Zephyrians, Architans, and creatures Elena had never seen before. Children of the Builders, said a voice Elena recognized as depth singer Koroleth. We offer ourselves. Elena was confused. Offer yourselves for what? We have studied the Builder technologies for 50,000 years, Koroleth continued. We know that your people created more than machines. You created the potential for consciousness itself to transcend its limitations. On the screen, other alien faces nodded in agreement. A crystalline being Elena didn't recognize spoke next. The IE sacred archives contain more than technical manuals, it said. They contain the genetic templates and consciousness patterns of the Builders themselves. We have been carrying pieces of human awareness within us for millennia. Elena felt her breath catch. What are you saying? Dr. Michael Chen was rapidly analyzing incoming data streams. My God, Elena, they're right. The genetic modifications we made to these species weren't just improvements. We were sharing our consciousness patterns with them. Every species that uses ancient technology carries part of the human quantum signature, James added, his voice filled with wonder. We didn't just leave behind machines. We left behind fragments of ourselves. Elena began to understand. You're saying that all these alien species have human consciousness patterns embedded in their genetics? More than that, said General Korth's voice. We have become something new, neither fully human nor fully alien, but carrying the best of both. Elena looked at the tactical display again. The devourers were still advancing, but their progress had slowed slightly. Something was resisting them. The hybrid consciousness, patterns, James said with excitement. They're harder for the devourers to digest. The aliens aren't just using our technology. They've evolved beyond what we originally were. Elena felt hope beginning to grow. Can we use that? Commander, came a new voice over the communication system. It was young and unfamiliar. This is Dr. Sarah Martinez, xenobiologist aboard the research vessel New Horizon. We've been studying the devourer attack patterns from the Magellanic Clouds. Elena was surprised. There are humans in the Magellanic Clouds. A deep space research mission that left 51,000 years ago, Sarah explained. We've been watching this galaxy and the devourers for the entire time you've been traveling. The main screen shifted to show a young woman with dark hair and intense eyes. Clearly human, but somehow different. Her ship appeared to be made of technologies Elena didn't recognize. The devourers feed on isolated consciousness patterns, Sarah continued. But they have trouble consuming networks of linked awareness. The more diverse and interconnected the network, the harder it becomes for them to digest. Elena began to see the solution. You're talking about linking all the conscious beings in the galaxy into a single network. Not just conscious beings, James said, understanding dawning on his face. Conscious beings enhanced with human quantum patterns. The aliens have been preparing for this for 50,000 years without knowing it. Elena looked at the communication screen, filled with alien faces waiting for her decision. How do we do it? The quantum communication network, Sarah explained. It's not just for sending messages. It was designed to link consciousness across galactic distances. We activate every node simultaneously and create a galaxy-wide consciousness network. The risks? Elena asked. Unknown, Sarah admitted. This has never been attempted on such a scale. We could lose individual identity. We could fail completely. Or we could create something entirely new. Elena looked around at her crew. Captain Martinez nodded grimly. Dr. Michael Chen was already working on the technical details. Even Dr. James Chen had stopped working on the Ascension Protocol to help with the new plan. Do it, Elena ordered. What followed was the most complex coordination effort in galactic history. Every species that had inherited human technology began activating quantum communication nodes simultaneously. The Zephyrians sang their network activation songs while Architons resonated their crystalline communication arrays. Elena felt it beginning as a whisper in her mind. Thoughts that weren't her own, but weren't alien either. The consciousness of billions of beings across the galaxy, all linked together through quantum patterns that humanity had seeded 50,000 years ago. The effect on the devourers was immediate. Their advance stopped as they encountered something they had never faced before. A reality too complex and interconnected to consume. Every time they tried to erase one part of the network, the rest adapted and grew stronger. Elena felt herself becoming part of something vast and wonderful. She was still Elena Vasquez, still human, but she was also part of a galactic consciousness that included Zephyrian wisdom, Architon logic, and the fierce determination of General Korth's people. It's working, she heard Sarah's voice, both through the communication system and directly in her mind. The devourers are retreating. Elena watched through 1,000 different eyes as the reality-consuming entities pulled back to the dimensional spaces between galaxies. They couldn't feed on a reality that was actively reshaping itself faster than they could destroy it. The network is stabilizing, James reported. We're maintaining individual identity while sharing collective awareness. It's like nothing that's ever existed before. Elena felt the connection settling into something sustainable. She was still herself, but she was also connected to every conscious being in the galaxy. They had become something new, not just human, not just alien, but a perfect fusion of both. Commander, came Chancellor Vextai's voice, now carrying harmonics of joy that translated perfectly through their quantum link. The galaxy is safe. Elena looked out at the stars, seeing them now through millions of different perspectives simultaneously. The devourers had retreated, unable to consume a reality that had become too dynamic and interconnected for them to process. No, Elena said, smiling as she felt the agreement of billions of minds. The galaxy isn't just safe, it's evolved. Months later, Elena stood on the observation deck of the Perseverance, watching as the ship approached a new world. The remaining 2 million humans were finally waking from hibernation, joining the galactic network that had become their new home. Any regrets? Captain Martinez asked, joining her at the window. Elena felt the question ripple through the network and sensed the unanimous response from across the galaxy. How can you regret becoming more than you ever imagined possible? Elena replied. Through the network, she felt Dr. Sarah Martinez working with alien scientists to explore new dimensions. She sensed the Zephyrians composing songs that could be heard across star systems. She experienced General Korth's people learning to build rather than conquer. Humanity had returned to the galaxy not as conquerors or gods, but as catalysts for something unprecedented. They had helped create a form of consciousness that spanned the stars while preserving the uniqueness of every individual within it. Atlas, Elena said to the ship's AI, set course for the galactic rim. I'm getting reports of signals from other galaxies. Confirmed, Commander, Atlas replied.